Here we are, right on time, for a change. The Leo Zagami Show with Leo and Christy Zagami live from Palm Springs, California.
Hi everyone, we're here on a Wednesday.
The most unusual geopolitical analysis to date with the most unusual couple.
I'm normal.
You're normal. I'm normal. Okay. The Leo Zagami Show, I hope reaches you all around the world on our platforms here of choice. We are broadcasting on Facebook today, on YouTube, and of course I want to remind you that from the 1st of June we will be on Roku regularly with the Leo Zagami Show on the Ultra Frequency Television. Ultra Frequency Television.
Hi Jenny, hi Katie, hi Bruce, hi Corey.
We have not that many people, but a few. I will ask those people who are already tuned in to please share this video so you can bypass the shadow banning and censorship that is unfortunately inflicted on us. And we have a lot of news, guys. We have a lot of news from Davos. Yes, what's next for America after Joe Biden went loose? Yes, well, no, didn't go on the. He went loose. He's loose. Usually, he's loose from the lower part of his body, where he's letting those incredible flatulence out, but. We know that he's also joined by other important public figures from the Democrat Party also, because it seems that that's a tendency in the Democrat Party. You remember there was like Eric Swalwell, then you have Whoopi Goldberg. That's why her name Whoopi. And she's criticizing, of course, the Republicans that dare to say anything because they want to go after the Second Amendment. Michael Moore said we need to scrape off the Second Amendment. Imagine that. Now, for all those people who are tuned in, we are able to conduct this show thanks to you. We don't have any other sponsors, so the only sponsors are you. And you can donate something through Fundly, GoFundMe, and Cash App if you are in the United States or Great Britain. Or you can also purchase one of our books. Purchasing one of our books, especially the last book I published, that we published, this book is particularly relevant. And it's, by the way, available also on hardback copy. For the first time, we have published a hardback copy of one of my books in the English language. So, 4 minutes past the hour. I guess that is about time to kickstart our show and the news. Of course, we must start once again by showing you a reminder of Joe Biden, who told the reporters in Japan something that will stay in the history books.
You didn't want to get involved in the Ukraine conflict militarily for obvious reasons. Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes.
You are?
That's the commitment we made.
Now, there's been a lot of backpedaling on that from the White House and stuff, but it's pretty clear what he was saying, especially because he said it in Japan. And you used to live in Japan.
Well, I'm sure the Japanese people are really happy about that.
Of course. So that's it. We have another possible war starting soon that will actually see the direct confrontation of the United States of America. seems a bit strange. In fact, like I said, there's a lot of backpedaling. A lot of people don't want to really talk about this admission by Joe Biden. But in the meantime, guys, in Davos, in Switzerland, as you know, we have talked about it for a while now, they will have met, both the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization. They are meeting in Switzerland. One is meeting in Davos, the other one in Geneva. So let's go to Davos, because in Davos, these are the shocking words from a dying George Soros, because I can only define him as a dying man. I mean, look at him, look at him, look at him and listen to what he's about to say, because this statement is a very disturbing one.
Thank you all for coming. Since the last Davos meeting, the course of history has changed dramatically. Russia invaded Ukraine. That has shaken Europe to its core. The European Union had been established to prevent such a thing from happening. Even when the fighting stops, as it eventually must, the situation will never revert to what it was before. The invasion may have been the beginning of the Third World War, and our civilization may not survive it. That's the subject I will discuss today.
Well, what a great subject! What a great what a joyful subject for the elite that has convened in Davos to listen to one of their old sages, George Soros.
The invasion of Ukraine didn't come out of the blue. The world has been increasingly engaged in a struggle between two systems of governance that are diametrically opposed to each other: open society and closed society. Let me define the difference as simply as I can.
Well, now he defines the difference, but let me remind you all that there is no difference at the moment, especially after the pandemic has proven that most of the Western society is capable of acting just as bad as the most draconian dictatorship, because that's what happened now. I mean, we have seen what happened in Italy, in England, here in the United States even. I mean, we have seen scenes of people thrown on the ground. You remember in the subway in New York just for not wearing a mask, or other crazy stuff that went on during this pandemic. So is this the free society, the open society? We will go back to George Soros, of course, because it's important that we listen more of what he had to say in Davos. But there is another thing I wanted to focus on today, reminding you, of course, that the Leo Zagami show always breaks the news. Yes, we bring you the latest, always before everybody else. Yesterday I was on Infowars, though, discussing what we discussed the other day, the subject that pertains Nancy Pelosi. And as you know, in my latest book, which is Confessions of an Illuminati, Volume 7, I've actually included a photo of Nancy Pelosi giving the Masonic handshake. And I think that it's important that all of you purchase this book, because it's not only a manual, the first of its kind, to understand the occult roots of the Great Reset. The occult roots. Not many people know about the occult roots of it, and they might know about the geopolitical and economic roots that brought these folks together in the early 70s. But here we have the Pope with Nancy Pelosi, and of course this Masonic salute, which is quite evident.
What kind of a handshake is that?
That is the Enter the Apprentice, Christine.
Can you make it with me?
Christine, apart from the fact that you should know this, because you were initiated into the apprentice degree. Maybe
make a handshake.
Okay, let's make a handshake.
Okay. Oh yeah. Wait. I forgot it. Okay, wait. Okay. Is that it? Is that it? Is that it?
Whatever. Okay, so Nancy Pelosi, but everybody inspired by a guy, like I said, who went to Davos in 1974, Bishop Camara, the Red Bishop. And if you want to know more about the roots of the Great Reset, also in the Catholic Church, you can read about the Pact of the Catacombs in Confessions of an Illuminati, Volume 7, amongst many other things. Now, I hope that people realize that this is not just a supposition. I mean, here we are very close to a fact. I mean.
Ooh, I know it. See, that's it. How does she know it?
Well, of course, they're both Freemasons. That's why they know it. So
she's a Freemason?
Of course she's a Freemason. So
is she a regular?
But any woman, well, in fact, in reality, anybody.
Not that she's a girl. I mean, I don't know what she is.
She's an ancient folk of some kind. Okay, so there has been a really terrible attack in Texas. Everybody's talking about it, but it's especially the Democrat Party and Joe Biden that are talking about it, because if one thing that all the guys at Davos fear is the fact that in the United States of America there's a bunch of patriots that are well armed and ready to defend our Constitution. That is something they really despise these people, because like we discussed in precedence when we had that episode with Mark Malone regarding Agenda 2030, the whole of the project is basically Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 is part of the Great Reset Initiative. And we need to stop all this. But you need, first of all, to know who is in charge of this new world order. And I think that now even the not so educated person knows that Klaus Schwab is in charge. And he's actually openly saying that they are the ones who are building the future. Listen to him.
Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
We are building the future. Powerful community, yeah, present here in this room. While it's always these German people who tend to change the world and the order of things. Why are these German people always so eager? Like Adam Weishaupt, when he founded the Illuminati in 1776.
Is there some kind of thing about that? I mean,
well,
why is it all in German?
Well, you can read about the playgrounds of the Illuminati, Germany, Switzerland, and Austria in Volume 7 of my Confessions.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
We have the means to improve the states of the world. But two conditions are necessary. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities, that we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility. And second, that we collaborate. And this is the reason why you find many opportunities here during the meeting to engage into very action and impact-oriented initiatives to make progress related to specific issues on the global agenda.
Heil Klaus. Okay, so
somebody wished me happy birthday. I just want to say thank you very much.
Yes, tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, is Chris's birthday. We want to thank, first of all, our friend Bruce, because he was very kind. He made us a surprise today. We will not go into the details for privacy reasons, but thank you so much, dear Bruce. And We have, of course, Klaus Schwab, who is also wishing you a happy birthday.
No, I don't want his happy birthday wish.
Listen, you have to listen to me. I'm here in Davos, and I want to wish you a happy birthday because you are a stakeholder of my commute in Palm Springs. So this is the people really who are in charge of the planet, dear Christian. So on one side we have George Soros. On the other we have also another gentleman called Henry Kissinger. Some of you might know who he is. He recently published this book, which I cited in my own book. Henry Kissinger. Yes, Henry Kissinger. He actually went to the opposite side of George Soros. He said something different. He actually said that, something that kind of shocked. No, yes, Bruce, I have a lot of German in me because my family was in charge during the Second Roman Empire, and one of my family members, was the founder of the city of Köln in Germany. We actually have a family name in the pavement
How
of the
much
cathedral.
German are you?
A little bit German.
Like
yes.
me? I'm about
well, maybe you have more German than me. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you instead Henry Kissinger, another very, very old gentleman who intervened at this event. And he intervened saying something that, of course, a lot of people thought was maybe not appropriate, meaning Ukraine must give Russia territory. Now, the fact that somebody like Kissinger said something like that pissed off a lot of people. I don't know if you understand this. I mean,
I just heard what you said.
So what do you think? I mean, he said, stop pressuring Russia. Stop pressuring Russia.
Because, why did he say that?
Because Henry Kissinger is somebody who has actually a quite good relationship with Russia himself. Aside from having a very good relationship with China, he was one of the main reasons why during the Nixon era we started to open up to China. I would say that definitely we are witnessing maybe how can we say, we are witnessing probably an attempt by the World Economic Forum to go on the offense, officially, casting Vladimir Putin as the evil, number one evil figure, but on the other side, leaving a diplomatic channel open, leaving a possibility, that something might happen in the diplomatic field. Let's not forget that Henry Kissinger was a very influential character. I mean, nowadays, the 98-year-old is not really remembered by many people, but he had many important roles. He was a former United States Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. So, I mean, an important figure. Now, let me show you here his own intervened. He's another of, I mean, these people are half dead and everybody is spending $50,000 to attend this meeting and listen to these old folks talking with almost a worship kind of, It's incredible because they pay $50,000 each to participate. That is the cost.
That's a lot of money.
Okay, so let's see what happens here with Henry Kissinger. See if we can get the audio. Maybe I can rewind it here. Okay.
That seems to me to be the dividing line that it is just impossible to divide, and it will be difficult.
Oh, well, then we have, of course, probably some publicity here. So we should go back and pick up again from where he left. This is Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, who said something different from George Soros. They might be playing the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like one guy says one thing, the other one says another, and everybody's happy in the end. Let's remember that there is the representatives of China that are present in Davos, and they all got up when Zelensky started to talk the first time, and even the second time, because Zelensky intervened in Davos already 2 times. And I will make you hear what he said. I mean, it's pretty shocking what he says. I mean, everything is on sale for Mr. Zelensky, as you know. Let's see what Sabatier and Frankist Henry Kissinger says. This is really... Here we go. Let's see if we can maybe listen to him on the beginning. Fortunately, we don't have... hopefully, we should get maybe, if I manage to find a video, but you know, it's kind of rainbow wheel. Okay.
Movement towards negotiations, and negotiations on peace need to begin the next 2 months or so. The outcome of the war should be outlined by them before it creates upheavals and tensions that will not be even harder to overcome, and particularly between the eventual relationship of Russia towards Europe and of Ukraine towards Europe. Ideally, the dividing line should return to the status quo ante. I believe pursuing the war beyond that point would draw to an end into a war not about the freedom of Ukraine, which has been undertaken with great cohesion by NATO, but a new war against Russia itself. And so this seems to me to be the dividing line, that it is just impossible to define, and it will be difficult.
It will be difficult. This is the Leo Zagami show.
In an open society.
And this is, of course, George Soros, who also was participating in Davos, giving his own opinion on the matter, a very difficult moment for humanity, and a very different opinion between Kissinger and Soros, mostly because, like I said earlier, it seems like they have been given 2 different roads to play, but they are definitely all gathering quite visibly against Russia during Davos. So there had to be almost a line, diplomatic line left open, and with Henry Kissinger's statement, that diplomatic line was definitely left open. But let's go back to George Soros.
The rule of...
Asking how old is Kissinger? 98 years old. 2 years and he's 100. So.
And how old is he?
He's quite old too.
Of the state is to protect the freedom of the individual. In a closed society, the role of the individual is to serve the rulers of the state.
He's 91, but he's actually looking worse than Kissinger, who is 98, to tell you the truth.
Don't these people retire?
No. Well, you're gonna
They
retire?
don't ever go away.
I know,
it's
but
absolutely incredible.
when you own the planet, you don't retire until you eventually end up in your grave. And
sure
these
they
people
want a new body. God.
Yeah, these people never really give up until the last moment of their existence, unfortunately.
Other issues concerning all of humanity, fighting pandemics and climate change, avoiding nuclear war, maintaining global institutions, have had to take a backseat to that struggle. That's why I say our civilization may not survive.
So he says it two times, he said, our civilization will not survive. Our civilization will not survive. He definitely doesn't want our civilization to survive. He doesn't give any hope to all these people who have spent $50,000 and are sitting there in the comforts of Davos.
I became engaged in what I call political philanthropy in the 1980s.
Political philanthropy. Another name for New World Order.
That was a time when a large part of the world was under communist rule, and I wanted to help people who were outraged and fought against opposition. As the Soviet Union disintegrated, I established one foundation after another in rapid succession, and what was then the Soviet Empire. The effort turned out to be more successful than I expected.
So he said that when the Soviet Union was falling, he started to build all his foundations. Wow, what a gentleman.
Those were exciting days.
No exciting days.
They also coincided with a period of personal financial success that allowed...
Sure. I mean, this guy frauded the Bank of England, frauded Italy. I mean, he speculated over the lira. He made billions over the lira. He made billions over the British pound. He inspired revolutions. He inspired basically the whole of this Ukrainian disaster from 2000, from actually 1990, from the moment he established, even before the Soviet Union came to an end, he had already established his foundation in Ukraine. He's the financier, the sponsor behind the scenes of Ukraine libtard Nazi modality. I mean, he's behind Zelensky, the rise of Zelensky through his TV as a comedian, the fact he became after a president, after being a comedian. All this was carefully orchestrated behind the scenes by the so-called open society of George Soros. But what I don't understand is he is going back to, you remember a few months ago, before the war started, and I discussed all this in my book, by the way. You can, of course, purchase volume 7 because it's a way to help us, but also to learn. And I can assure you, people like Pete Santilli, for example, Alex Jones, many others, they have appreciated very much the content of this book. So I wrote in this book that George Soros, of course, made that announcement at the end of January. He talked about this year as a year of great importance, where autocracy was opposing democracy. And he says that basically with his open society, he's encouraging democracy. But let's go and understand really what is this open society. Because, I mean, I never had really an experience of freedom in Europe. Europe is dominated by this crook. There is 120 politicians in Italy on the payroll of George Soros, maybe more by now. There were 120 10 years ago, probably, like I said, they increased. But in Italy, I suffer persecution. There is no freedom of speech. Christie, suffered the torture from the Carabinieri police pointing lights. I mean, this is the freedom of democracy. Dear George Soros, you can stuck your democracy up your ass. There is no such thing as democracy in Europe. Europe is a technocratic socialist nightmare. That is the truth. He's somebody who has helped up rounding up the Jews for the Nazis back in the war days. We all know that. He always tries to say no, but then we all know that he has participated. He even admitted at one point, but he doesn't seem to be really touched by the gravity of what he did. He is a Jewish person, but he is a Sabbatean Frankist, obviously, like Henry Kissinger. These people are people who despise, really, traditional Judaism, Christianity, and any form of religion that puts God in the center, because they are Satanists. Him, his son, who will take his place, works with Obama, Alexander Soros, who will probably soon become his successor. Somebody says there will be a Japanese translation of the book. They have not offered us that. I'm sorry. They kind of like, we published 6 books in Japan, but after that, it seems like the Japanese
you went a little bit too, like you started to expose a little bit too much, and so then they backed off.
Yes,
and all the books came off the shelf.
But if you want to sign a book deal for Japan, it's no problem. I mean, as long as you take care of the translation, because the translation in Japanese is a pretty expensive endeavor.
To increase my annual giving from $3 million in 1984 to more than 300 million 3 years later. After the 9/11 attacks in 2001, the tide began to turn against open societies. Repressive regimes are now in the ascendant, and open societies are under siege. Today, China and Russia present the greatest threat to open society. I have pondered long and hard why that should have happened. I found part of the answer in the...
Now, somebody, of course, rightly pointed out on the fact that he was supposedly a student of Karl Popper. Now, Karl Popper was somebody who criticized what he termed as the conspiracy theory of society, the view that powerful people or groups, godlike in their efficacy, are responsible for purposely bringing about all the ills of society, was something that, in a way, Popper despised, just as his disciple George Soros. Conspiracy theories for these people are just the fruit of superstition, but then they become the people who that actually incarnate them. So that's quite incredible.
Rapid development of digital technology, especially artificial intelligence.
Now, this is really where we go and talk about one of the other subjects of this book, which is artificial intelligence. So, I mean, it's very important for these people, the subject of artificial intelligence, because it's thanks to artificial intelligence that they can control more. And actually, Soros here makes some admissions about it.
In theory, AI ought to be politically neutral. It can be used for good or bad. But in practice, the effect is asymmetric. AI is particularly good at producing instruments of control that help repressive regimes and endanger open societies. COVID-19 also helped legitimize instruments of control because they are really useful in dealing with the virus. The rapid development of AI has gone hand in hand with the rise of social media and tech platforms. The conglomerates, these conglomerates have come to dominate the global economy. They are multinational and their reach extends around the world. These developments...
Well, I must say, actually, the West didn't really behave as a freedom-loving West now during the pandemic. I mean, he's talking about open society when everything was closed during the pandemic.
What does that mean? Open society?
That is the name of his own foundation and his own idea that everything needs to be open and transparent and democratic, when in reality, the societies that he has touched become just as bad as the authoritarian ones. Just watch Australia, for example, where just now we saw, after years of conservative rule, the socialists winning. I mean, Australia is basically the people of Australia are so idiotic that they want to substitute the conservatives with the socialists, thinking that will bring them out of all the restrictions, of all the lockdown mentality. I mean, the Australians are really
have had far-reaching consequences. They have sharpened the conflict between China and the United States.
So he's talking about that, but I want to go back to the artificial intelligence, because there is some news about artificial intelligence that I wanted to give you, which is very important. The AI is inventing its own culture, passing it on to humans. You understand? They invent their own culture. Algorithms could increasingly influence human culture, even though we don't have a good understanding of how they interact with us or each other. So they, of course, control everything through the new technology, the camera recognition, all that. The new studies shows that humans can learn new things from artificial intelligence systems and pass them to other humans in ways that could potentially influence wider human culture. The study, published on Monday by a group of researchers at the Center of Human and Machines at the Max Planck Institute for Human Development. That's it. So, artificial intelligence influencing us.
China has turned its tech platforms into national champions. The United States has been more hesitant because...
What do you mean, yes, it's been more hesitant? The social networks have brought us so much censorship. He says there was less censorship in the United States. You think there was less censorship in the United States?
He's making my eye twitch.
Yes, really, yeah.
It was worried about their effect on the freedom of the individual.
Yeah, sure. So why didn't they stop the censorship of all conservatives? Dear George Soros, you are full of baloney. You're full of baloney. But maybe he's also suffering from flatulence. Now, let's go back to these Democrats like Whoopi Goldberg, who criticize today ferociously the Republicans. When it comes down to gun control, these people are, as you might imagine, really at the tip of the spear. First of all, we saw a few days ago Whoopi Goldberg criticizing the Archbishop of San Francisco. You remember? Mm-hmm. Now you have instead Whoopi Goldberg, this time talking about something else, because she is threatening this time violence against Republicans.
What are we doing? Because why are we always at square one with this? And I swear to God, if I see another Republican senator talk about their heart being broken, I'm going to go punch somebody.
And thoughts and prayers.
I can't take it in their thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
If your thoughts and prayers were really with everybody, you'd have done something by now. It's not like anybody's not trying to make this happen. What the hell is going on?
I want them to stop gaslighting me also. Stop saying it's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. It's guns that kill people, okay? Stop saying the opposite. Stop saying that mental illness is behind this. There's mental illness in every country in the world, and they don't have this problem. So stop gaslighting me on that one. And stop saying that you can have a good guy stop a bad guy with a gun. We have seen in both of these shootings in the past 3 weeks that a good guy tried and could not do it. So stop gaslighting us. And now, you know, also the other thing about it is if you follow the money, that is what this is all about. This campaign financing business that a person who wants to run, I mean, I'm just a citizen in this country. I don't know all the civics involved, but it looks as though if you want to run for office, and I have a friend, my friend Robert Zimmerman is running for office now, has to raise all this money. There's something wrong with that, because once you start raising the money, then you're beholden to those people that helped you raise it. That should be the end of, we should start right there.
Maybe that's the only decent thing she's saying here, because that's the only thing that I don't like about this political game, the fact that you have to raise money, and a lot of money, to enter the political game. That is the only thing that was ever said decent from her mouth. She's another liberal propagandist.
You know, and we can't rely on people like Romney and Liz Cheney, who seem to be normal. They're both taking a lot of money from the NRA. Romney takes the most. You know that, right? You like Romney, I know. People do like him. And he's come through on a few things. But he's part of the problem, too.
I would vote for him.
I mean, these people are, of course, hating the Second Amendment so much that, like, I mean, Michael Moore even said to scrap off the Second Amendment. I mean, that's insane. It's just like insane. So let's go to the roots of the problem here. Whoopi Goldberg has a flatulence problem. She just, when she talks, just like Joe Biden, no? Joe Biden has the same problem. These people, you know, when they talk, they have flatulence in their head.
As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done?
Oh, God. Yes, sure. Whoopi Goldberg invented even her name. She's not called Whoopi Goldberg, but Whoopi means basically a fart, no, Christy?
Why are you asking me?
Well, I mean, I mean, you are American, maybe more than me.
Whoopee cushion.
Okay.
You know what that is?
What is that? Okay, one of the cushions that make the sound. Yeah. They make the sound. She doesn't need a cushion to make a sound. We can go and check her first fart on The View. Here it is.
I think it explores that in a really smart way.
Well, you know, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me.
So differential.
I think I just blew a little frog out of there.
That was a sister act 1 and 2 and even 3. Then she went back at it. This time, while she was talking about, she was recommending taking the influenza vaccine. And she was, of course, bringing more flatulence out of her mouth. But at one point, it came out of somewhere else. And so this was actually an even worse accident because they had to evacuate the studio.
You know what? Many people are refusing to get a
yes, when you say you go to the toilet, how you say evacuate? Huh?
Evacuate.
Shot this winter because almost half of Americans are convinced the flu shot can make them sick. Now, doctors insist that it is biologically impossible. Do you all get the shot?
I will not get the shot. I feel like, why do I want to inject something into my skin that's gonna make?
Excuse me.
Yeah. Whoa.
Breakfast burrito.
Hold on for a minute.
Oh my God.
I don't think it's funny.
Oh,
So much better now.
you know those breakfast burritos, they kill
They
us
kill
every
you.
day.
I tell you.
It was the flu shot.
She has actually her own philosophy about farts. This is what Whoopi Goldberg said about fart, because she has her own philosophy.
When you say that, it's just so funny.
Yeah, why? I mean,
You just say it again.
What?
I don't even say it.
The farts?
Yeah.
Okay, Whoopi said, if you can't handle a fart, you can't handle hair. That's it.
They say that men will not break wind when their partner is around.
That is ridiculous.
Because, well, you know what?
More room out than in. If you can't handle a fart, you can't handle me.
Oh, so she's basically a living fart.
I do not pass wind in front of my husband.
Do you actually think he thinks you don't pass wind?
Yes, he does.
Yeah. He's got a cork for you that he's had for years. Listen, you can, you know, I understand some people think it's not good, but let's not pretend that you're not passing it when you need to pass it.
I mean, I will tell you, I hold it in to the point of pain.
No!
So as not to...
You know he knows that you do it.
No, he doesn't know.
Manny.
Safe fart.
Can somebody make sure, put my face so I can see it, so I can talk to Manny. Manny, your wife farts.
Whatever. I mean, these people, imagine putting in a room, Whoopi Goldberg, Eric Schroeder, and Joe Biden. Then at that point, you have solved the problem of gas. You have solved basically one of the problems that we have at the moment. Lacking gas. Definitely. The title of her memoirs, Bruce says, Whoopi Goldberg, a life in slaughter. And she even pretends to be Jewish on top of that. But that's another story. So here we have, well, today though, you made something that I like very much. Now, because some people say that if you eat pasta fazooli, you have increased flatulence. I can assure you that if pasta fazooli is done in the proper way, you will not suffer an increased flatulence. But this is instead the great dish. Very nice dish. What?
Why did you show that after we just... I mean,
I know.
I'm going to go and throw out the leftover now. You're gross. You nasty.
Okay.
You're just nasty.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Okay.
Nasty.
My sound is gone underground. We have to Here we are. How is the sound now, guys? The sound seems better. Okay. Yeah. So please share.
Apparently, people like your topic today.
Why do they like my topic today?
I was reading the comment.
Okay, so in Davos, let's go back to Davos. Do you think Klaus Schwab farts too? Yeah, when he farts in with a German accent. He farts with a German accent. Yeah, guys. And George Soros might really be a powerful farter, but we don't know about that. Well, instead, we know for sure that Joe Biden has farted in front of Camilla Parker Bowles. And it was a long fart. And it was a...
We're losing viewers with this.
Okay.
It's going down.
I can't predict the outcome, but Ukraine certainly has a winning chance. Recently, European leaders went even further. They wanted to use the invasion of Ukraine to promote greater European integration, so that what Putin is doing can never happen again. Enrico Letta, the leader of Partito Democratico.
So he's even citing Enrico Letta, the worst Italian scumbag politician, I mean, who, of course, is on his payroll, the head of the Italian Democratic Party.
Proposed a plan for a partially federated Europe. The federal portion would cover all key policy areas. In the federal core, no member state would have veto power. In the wider confederation, member states could join coalitions of the willing or simply retain their veto power. Mario Draghi endorsed Letta's plan.
Ecco, another evil Italian, Mario Draghi. I mean, he's citing the most evil Italians, Mario Draghi, Enrico Letta. These are the people I fight every day on my Italian show. It means that I'm right on track here, because he's not citing any other politician. He cited Enrico Letta and Mario Draghi.
Emmanuel Macron.
Ah, okay, now Emmanuel Macron. That guy.
Significant broadening of his pro-European approach, advocated geographic expansion and the need for the EU to prepare for it. Not only Ukraine, but also Moldova and the Western Balkans should qualify for membership in the European Union. It will take a long time to work out the details, but Europe seems to be moving in the right direction.
Now, if George Soros says that Europe is moving in the right direction, that means that Europe is not moving in the right direction.
It has responded to the invasion of Ukraine with greater speed, unity, and vigor than ever before in history. After a hesitant start, Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also has found a strong pro-European voice.
I really despise these people. I despise Europe and everything it represents. Isti, you lived in Europe with me for a long time. You know my feelings. And these people, I can't stand them. It's just too much for me. Europe is just as bad as it was in 1776. It's a place we should have no say in, but we should also have no involvement with, because Europe is the epicenter of all evil. Even Rambo says it. Rambo? He's confirming. He's confirming. I'm sorry for those who live in Europe, but it's a shithole. And that should be pretty clear to everybody. Just check out what happened to some journalists who were in Davos, who, of course, were deemed as a big danger by the local Gestapo. And I mean, it's sad to see this, but this is how it is. Europe is in the hands of a bunch of Nazis. And for those who still have a romanticized idea of Europe, who have an idea, oh, Europe, so nice, so romantic, is a place where I can just forget the romance of Europe. Europe is a danger to humanity because it's filled with the worst people the worst ideologies. They have given birth to the worst ideologies. Look at this piece of garbage. I'm talking about a representative, the Vice Chancellor of Germany. Jawohl.
First of all, I would say that we have to stick to global markets. If we are now, and this is a tendency I feel everywhere in the world, also in my country as well, also in Europe, if we are now saying, okay, first of all, Germany and other countries are caring for themselves, then we will increase the crisis. If we are only caring for our own food supply, our energy supply, it must have a disastrous effect on the prices, on the market. So first of all, we have to keep the markets open. Second, we have to see that we have to solve one problem, not on the back of another one. So if we are now increasing the production of fossil fuels and coal power plants all over the place, there's a drought in India. You mentioned it. We will definitely have more problems in the next years to come. So we have to see that climate neutrality, the big issue of the conference 2020, so 2 years ago, it seems like ages, but 2 years ago, it's not gone. So we have to solve one problem with the solutions of the other problem. And third of all, when I mentioned open markets, I like to stress out that the rules of the markets, they have to change. So the globalization, I think deglobalization is a wrong phrase. We shouldn't admit to that. We have to stick that we collaborate in one world and have some solidarity in the world, but therefore we have to change the rule of the markets as well. So these three things, I would say, give an idea where we have to heed to, and maybe this conference can also lead some ways into a more sustainable future.
The Davos agenda for a more sustainable future, as usual, is BS and is part, of course, of the Great Reset. If you go there as a journalist, though, you risk to end up like these folks. If you are not, of course, on their good books, if you are on their blacklist, well, you might risk being arrested. Here we go with a video about what happened in Davos.
Why am I not allowed to record?
Please don't.
Isn't this a public street?
It is, but actually I don't like it to be on a video.
I can take it off.
You have your documents on the phone.
Take it off, please.
Yeah. Do you want to take a picture of it? Yes.
Keeping everybody safe.
Drop it. Your iPhone. You can show me, and then I take a picture. Can you put your hand away?
I'm sorry?
Can you put your phone away?
Am I not allowed to film?
No.
Why not?
Not during the police conference.
Why is that?
It's not allowed here.
On the public street?
Yes.
Is that a law in Switzerland?
Here is not allowed.
Here it's different from the rest of Switzerland.
It seems like you just don't want me to film.
It's not allowed.
Okay.
So in Davos, the Nazi rules of the Gestapo are well in place, and these are the people who are defending the open society. Is this open society? I mean, these are the people who are defending this gentleman here, who is one of the most evil creatures on the planet.
But Europe's dependence on Russian fossil fuels remains excessive, due largely to the mercantilist policy pursued by former Chancellor Angela Merkel.
So there was also a criticism of Angela Merkel's policies by the former Chancellor of Germany, who was accused by George Soros of having compromised for too long with Russia and making the German economy way too dependent on Russia. And he's quite right about that. But look It was actually Donald J. Trump who said this a few years back. And when he said it, if you remember, they all laughed at him. The German representatives of the United Nations, when Donald J. Trump said that, they were all like, ha, ha, ha. Are they still laughing now? Germany is a place where you don't really even have a proper truth movement. People are not allowed to even talk in Germany, to even criticize. Remember, I mean, in this book, in fact, in particular, my latest book is dedicated to a German victim of all this, because this book is dedicated to Hans Gardner, who was a Norwegian friend of mine, but also to Dr. Andreas Noack. Andreas Noack was the guy who was arrested live during the pandemic while he was live streaming by the German Gestapo, who broke into his flat and then said, oh, later on when they were heavily criticized, said, oh, we just, we were after his neighbor, not him. But then later on, they did the same thing. And eventually, 1 year later, he died. But in Austria, another playground of the Illuminati, another place which is responsible for a lot of the evils of this world. It was the Theosophical Austrian milieu behind Ariosophy, behind the foundations of what became the Holocaust. And maybe even the Jewish people in Israel should be much more open and honest about that, because otherwise we will never really have a full understanding of how we unfortunately arrived to the tragedy of the Holocaust. Okay, so at this point, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, we open the phone lines. And Christy is happy about that. Right? And Christy? Hello to our friend Telesmunto, who is tuned in. And here we are with the phone line. And of course, we will leave the number open. Then if you call, that's okay. If you don't, that's okay too. You're not obliged to call.
Telesmunto should call.
Telesmunto should call.
We like Italian accent.
Okay. So here we are with the +1 970 577 6369. I repeat, +1 970 577 6369. We are now opening the phone lines for those who are interested in intervening in our show. I hope that you will call in and, of course, indulge in an interesting conversation with us, because the topic of what's next for America is very interesting. I mean, here we are really facing the possibility of a full-on war. I mean, there were a joint mission, China-Russia mission, flying in Taiwanese airspace at one point. Even they were flying around the South China Sea. So it's very important. It's very important that we understand what is happening. And I tell you, for America, being distracted by a mass shooting, it's a mass distraction. Even as bad as it is, and it should never happen, and of course, I'm sure that we will find all kinds of things on this character who participated in this terrible tragedy, but now the focus should be on America and on the world stage. Thank you, Telesmunto. The Super King sends his regards to our friend Telesmunto News. So here we are with our first call. Welcome to the Leo Zagami show. Who am I talking with?
Hi, it's been a while.
Okay, welcome once again to the Leo Zagami show.
He's the ladies' man.
Love your show today.
Oh, thank you so much. So,
you're doing a good job. Christy, you'll never drive away your audience covering farts. Just let you know.
Okay, so it seems like it's a topic of certain interest.
Well, you know, it just shows these people are just normal folks, okay? You know, because they're not as high and mighty as they think they are.
Okay.
But You're right about Europe. It's degenerated into something that is quite grotesque.
No,
and you know, for them to perpetrate this war against Russia the way they're doing is not going to end well for them. And Kissinger said that out of an abundance of wisdom.
Yes.
Not that they're necessarily going to follow him. I mean, he's what, 98? The guy's almost 100 years old. He can say whatever he wants. The problem is, does he carry the same level of influence? And there was I follow a lot of geopolitical stuff, and that's basically what I focus on social media. All I do is follow geopolitics. And the United States has lost what it used to have. It's called statecraft. It has no statecraft anymore. It has no ability to use its influence in a positive way. It's all force, plus blunder and propaganda. And the sad thing about Europe is not that Europe is Europe. The sad thing about Europe is that Europe is easily bullied. And there's no check or balance, you know, either with America or with Europe. And this ganging up on Russia is just a wrong move.
Well, I think that the problem has been that after the Second World War, most countries in Europe have always had a partial sovereignty rather than a real effective sovereignty over their nation, because
You're right. They're all captured states. The United States has been captured for quite some time. That's a very deep subject. You're correct in stating that out.
Yeah.
There's one gentleman you should have on your show because he's right in Kharkov. His name is Gonzalo Lira. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Yeah, he's quite astute. You know, I don't agree with everything he says, but he's got quite a perspective, and he's worth having on your show as an interviewee and as someone who can give a ground level perspective of what's happening. He's a Chilean, maybe American Chilean. That's his background. So he was educated in the United States, but he shares a lot of the same views as you do.
Pick up Rambo, because Rambo is he said he wants to intervene and says hello to you. Here we have Rambo is arriving, because, you know, if you leave him out of the show, out of the picture, he might get offended. Rambo, are you okay now that we brought into the picture? Huh? What's up? What's up?
Where's Rambo?
Here he is.
He
here
says
he is.
hi.
Hey, Rambo. Good seeing you.
Well, we have, of course, a big problem now, which is not only now Ukraine, but also China. And what Joe Biden said in Japan is, of course, now being kind of backpedaled, discussed in a way.
Do you believe what he said?
No, I believe that, of course, he must say that in Japan, because let's remember that Japan has given their complete and unequivocal support for Taiwan. Let's remember historically that that part of China was actually always under Japanese influence. And so there is an historic reason why he said that we need to support, of course, Taiwan in case of an invasion. Because the problem is that if Japan intervenes, then automatically Japan is a country with American bases. You understand?
Right, exactly.
So
yes, exactly.
it's like, you know,
it falls under the protective umbrella of the 7th Fleet.
Yeah. And so there will be, and it's basically, even if not completely and formally a NATO member, we can just take it as it is, a NATO member, because when you have American bases and everything else, and also their status within with NATO, we know that it will be a big problem once Taiwan is invaded, and Japan will react. So then what will happen? I mean,
everybody forgets, though, that there is a Southeast Asia equivalent to NATO. It's called SEATO. It's called Southeast Asia Treaty Organization. And I don't know how active they are or if it's still going on, but I think Japan falls within CETO as well.
Yes, but I can also show you this. Basically, when it comes down to relations between Japan and NATO, NATO and Japan are committed to strengthening relations to address shared security challenges. The practical cooperation includes areas such as maritime security, cyber defense, and non-proliferation. This was last updated 2 days ago when Biden made his statement. So it's basically very clear here that NATO and Japan have a sort of partnership program that will inevitably bring America in a direct confrontation with China if Taiwan is invaded. So it's definitely a very bad scenario. I mean, we have seen that while they were talking in Japan, there were flights that were in collaboration between Russia and Chinese that were taking place. And of course, China said that these flights and this cooperation was already organized before and didn't have anything to do with what was going on with Joe Biden and also with the discussions that were taking place in Japan. But we know that that's not the case. We know that definitely China and Russia, like I said from the very beginning and from what I wrote in this book, the Sino-Russian alliance is very strong. And America will ultimately...
They're pushing for a multipolar world with the United States dislodged from its traditional position.
Well, I mean, more than multipolar, I would say that it's actually a Sino-Russian polarized world because China is looking to become, within the next 10 years, the #1 economy in the world. The US is losing their grip over the situation, over the world. Their position as a worldwide sheriff is kind of declining. And if, and I hope that never happens, we enter also a confrontation, a military confrontation with China, that will be the end for America. America is like really risking a lot here because we depend way too much on China. We depended on Russia, even if we don't want to admit it, partially probably because of their resources, but still we depended a lot on Russia. And now, if both Russia and China enter a conflict with us, that will be I think a very bad situation for China, even worse than Russia. Of course, if they invade Taiwan, that means also microchips that, as you know, are mainly made either in mainland China or the most sophisticated ones in Taiwan, will stop being exported suddenly, just as the grain and flour from Ukraine is at the moment.
I'll let you in on a secret. They're building chip plants as fast as they can in Arizona right now. I have a brother in Phoenix, and they're building as fast as they can chip plants in Phoenix.
As fast as they can. Is it fast enough? That's the question.
No, it's not. It's not. In fact, they're building one. I'm in Texas, so they're building one around Dallas area as well. So I'll put it to you this way: they're aware of the sole source problem that Taiwan presents. Okay, there's no question about that.
Well, let's pray and hope that we don't enter also in even a similar confrontation with with a series of restrictions, impositions, and of course the same thing we're doing with Russia, no? By prohibiting the import of their goods and all that. If it's done with China, it will be a complete disaster. I mean, we have decided that China...
I would tend to disagree with you.
Well, I mean, isn't China the hub of the world, especially of America, for a lot of the production? I mean, what are you going to do with Tesla factory? The Tesla factory at the moment in China is actually sending their own workers to special camps for quarantine and isolation, because they want to avoid being, you know, the lockdown is imposing a series of restrictions. And Tesla is actually joining the Chinese Communist Party in this idea of draconian quarantines. I mean, we have an idea of Elon Musk as the hero at the moment because of his, but it's not really the case. I mean, Elon has a lot of interest in China. And we have a lot of other companies that have interest in China. Apple has interest in China. Most companies in America have their factories in China. So what's going to happen at that point?
That's a good question, and that's something that some American Apple's building something right now, and I think they're building a chip factory in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla, their biggest factory is outside of Austin, by the way, and the newest one.
Yes, yes.
When they moved everything from California.
Sure, sure. But they still have a lot in China, and they have also a big market in China. So that will create definitely a lot of problems. But thank you so much for intervening and telling us your idea of what's next for America. I mean, what?
Hey, thanks for listening, and you guys are doing great. You look great too.
Thank you so much. So we hope that what's next for America is something that we can in some way take on without failing. It's not going to be easy, though. Welcome to the Leo Zagami show. Who am I talking with, and what's your name?
Hi, Leo, Christy. This is Jason Serpentino in El Paso, Texas. And,
I noticed that they said.
When I was going,
sorry, just a second. I noticed that they said the same. Yes, I said the same thing. I said, "What? And what's your name?" So basically, I repeated the same thing 2 times. I think.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I usually say, "What's your name and where are you calling from?" Are you calling from El Paso, Texas?
Jason Serpentino, yeah, El Paso, Texas.
Okay,
and,
perfect.
I think you could hear me good, huh?
Yeah. Yes, very good. Now, how are you feeling as a Texan after what happened yesterday?
Well, I voted yesterday for some candidates that were the best for, what's his name? Not Bush. Bush was running, some Bush guy.
Yeah.
But the other one is who I voted for. For the, anyways, so about the killing of the kids, is that what you're asking about?
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't know. How do they make? I don't know how they make them do that type of stuff. Is it like a government, a shadow government psyop or something? I don't know.
Well, definitely it sounds like it. We will have to investigate it though before we can talk more. Definitely, the guy was sick in his head. There was the victim of mental illness, but mental illness can also be the cover-up for operations of mind control and manipulation. So that's definitely something that we need to investigate further. So what do you think is going to happen to America next? You are, of course, very close also to the border with Mexico. And we know that the situation there is pretty bad. I mean, here I have a scene that I would like to share with you while you are, of course, on the phone with me. A group of 32 illegal immigrants dressed in camouflage fleece there near where you are, coming into the U.S. in camouflage.
Oh, yeah, we see them. Look here.
It looks like a group of military.
All right, hey, they're running out to kind of to that flat top area.
Yeah, therefore, we're in that gator.
So what do you think of what is happening at the border?
So some guys in camouflage coming across the border into Texas?
Yes, yes.
Is that what's going on?
Yes, yes, yes. And it doesn't really look like a good thing. You mentioned Bush just a minute ago, and actually it came up this weird story about ISIS that was plotting to kill George W. Bush by sending in a special squad through the border with the illegal immigrants. So, I mean, that is a pretty shocking thing to know. Of course, now George W. Bush is no longer a president, but the fact that ISIS was planning this kind of operation means that they have definitely access to the border and connections with the Mexican cartels that, of course, are in charge of it. The future of America looks very much uncertain. So what's your question and what do you think about the future of America?
Well, I wanted to share something interesting to
Yes.
you and get your opinion about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, indeed, ISIS, of course, I'm sure they've been having relations with Mexican, whatever, I don't know, cartels or whatever for many years. I don't know. I'm assuming that they would, right? One of their ways to access America is through Mexico, I would believe. But anyways, I wanted to see, when I was growing up in my grandpa's office, he had this picture framed, a big picture of Kennedy in a photo with some Jesuit priests. And then many years after that, I had read somewhere that they may have had something, the Jesuit priesthood may have had something to do with his death, because he wouldn't do it, even though he was a Democrat himself, I believe, Kennedy, right? But he wouldn't do exactly what they wanted him to do. I don't know all the details, but, and then I read that the Jesuit priesthood is the Illuminati and they have the most political power right now. I just wanted to give your opinion on that.
Well, there was that famous speech he delivered before he was killed a couple of weeks before, regarding the secret societies and this monolithic secret societies that secret society that was conspiring against America, and probably that was one of the reasons why he was killed. Now, in this specific, I don't know about this particular case you are indicating and this Jesuit, but it's definitely an interesting topic that you have brought up, and definitely it needs further evaluation, but it's a very interesting one. So you had, your father had a picture with this Jesuit and Kennedy.
Yeah, there was like 3 or 4 Jesuits in a photo with him, with Kennedy. I'm not like a fan of Kennedy. I think he was a Democrat anyways, right?
Well, I mean,
but anyways.
Of course, he was a Democrat, but he was somebody that at one point must have gone against the establishment. Otherwise, he would have not ended up dead. I mean, he would have probably prospered and live as long as Joe Biden, because if you are with the system carries you. I mean, the guy is a corpse, he's a living corpse. They are holding him around and he's still, you know, and he doesn't know what he's doing, but they still keep him there. So I think that Kennedy pissed off a few people very badly. And that's, I mean, especially in regards to that speech he gave regarding we despise and we don't like basically secret societies in any way or form, which is a great thing to say, but it was also a very unusual address by a president of the United States. So thank you so much for calling today. We have another 7 or 8 minutes before the closing of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have the opportunity of taking 1 or 2 more phone calls, depending on how fast you call and how fast you are in relaying your questions. But we would like to hear from you, and we thank those people who have intervened today. No?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I need a glass of water.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need some water. I don't like to drink during my show. So, what's up with Rambo?
Don't. He's fine.
Yeah, he was being a rebel. Huh?
He's really annoying.
It's really annoying. We have to bring him out. That's it, you know. He likes to go out. Well, it's normal. So I made instead a matriciana, Christy. It's a special dish. It's a dish made with.
It was so good.
It's made with guanciale. Guanciale, some people make matriciana using these little cubes, pancetta. No, that is not the original matriciana. That's another thing. The original matriciana is spectacular. It's made also with pecorino romano, which is a kind of cheese made from sheep, and it is a traditional shepherd meal.
It's from Rome.
It's from, actually, originally it's from a place called Matrice, which was the place that was hit very hard by the earthquake. This is my version of matriciana, and I made a little video. Yes, this is bucatini alla matriciana leozagami style. Col guanciale. Huh? How's that? So it was good, Christy?
Was that the bald guy talking on the TV?
I don't know, probably. I mean, I was listening, of course, Italian TV in the background because that's what I listen often here in this house. But why do I listen so much to Italian TV? There is a reason.
I know.
Because they are the only ones. Yes. Okay. You can say.
They have the news. They have the news that the American TV isn't showing. So
well, I mean, some of it, they have correspondence on the other side. So on both sides, they have correspondence, both in the region that is, of course, still in control. Yeah, well, in the Donbass region, in Severodonetsk, where they're fighting now, they have actually correspondence on the ground. American mainstream news doesn't have any. They only have people located in Lviv, in Kiev, in the easy areas. Somebody's calling in, so welcome to the Leo Zagami show. Who am I talking, and where are you from?
Hey, Leo, it's Rob from Area 3, FEMA region.
Hey! So where are you calling from exactly?
He's calling from, is it Texas?
Maryland.
Oh, Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. So what do you think of the topic of the day? What's next for America? What do you think is really next for America?
Well, I think they're evergreening. Of course, they don't like, it's too hard to manage things by actually managing them. They're using the fail-forward obsolescence, let it decay, and then you can just tear it out, and people will be screaming for it to be torn out. So they're using reverse psychology to manage huge change, which would normally be more gradual. So they're just letting stuff fail and sabotaging basically anything that can be sabotaged to bring in the new and
the new normal.
Requires,
the new normal. The new normal, as they call it.
Yeah, the new normal. All this neurolinguistics crap. But you know, they're leading with a bunch of old people. If you notice, there's not many young ones out there. And you know, if they're so advanced, how come there's not? We just have Novel Harari, and he's not much of a mental giant. His reasoning is highly suspect.
Well, let's tell for those people who are following us who is Harari. Harari, I describe very well in my book. Is his mentor is Klaus Schwab, but he is basically the ideologist, the guy who is pushing transhumanism within the Davos elite, and he's doing it quite well. But regarding what you just said, yes, definitely we have at the moment a lot of figures, like, for example, Justin Trudeau, Zelensky, Macron. These young politicians seem more like actors than statesmen.
Correct. They're cutouts. They're not true heavyweights.
You see the heavyweights today. We showed Henry Kissinger. He's a real heavyweight, and everybody was listening what he was saying. Or George Soros, of course, is not a politician, but he's a heavyweight. But these people are literally actors. They're not really, well said.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the substance, it's whether they can carry the message convincingly as an actor would, and just believe their own BS.
Well, in fact, in the case of Zelensky, they went directly for an actor full on. I mean, they just, they just bypassed the whole political career and they just went on for an actor.
And this spins forward into all layers of American political life and European. They're all mostly actors. They're co-opted. They're being paid to present whoever's behind the curtain paying the bills, whether that's party, liberal or conservative. And what's really being represented is the status quo, which is the big moneyed interest that wants to have full spectrum dominance, which is running out of, the information awareness networks coming out of Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. And this is where all the Event 201 stuff's coming out of. And it's all just managed from the university system after World War II. When they co-opted that, they found they couldn't get scientists after they made the bomb. There was a big rejection of warfare from the educational elite. So instead what they did was just make all these think tanks and make it reasonable for scientists to basically make warfare weapons. And that whole industrial military complex came about very quickly, and Kennedy pointed out, and he ended up dead. And there's a big memorial over there in Israel on a mountaintop to Kennedy. It's basically a giant chopped off tree stump. They're telling you we killed his line, his family line. It's like saying don't do what Kennedy did. It's almost like telling you, spitting in your face. So it's all about fear. That's what's really being willed.
What is next for America here?
Well, it's depopulation and in terms of the old population, and repopulation with anything that's not the old. So that's why we're having this mass immigration, deconstruction,
and the possibility. Sorry to interrupt you. That maybe America will be broke into two different sections. The one that will, of course, embrace fully the libtard progressive values, the red states, and the blue states, and the red states instead are the conservative ones that will go on and try to maintain their conservative values. I mean, there seems to be an increase push towards also dismantling the State of the Union.
Yeah, and my father was apparently part of this experiment going way back. I mean, he was born in the 30s, child of the Depression, and he rose into military, weapons research, radar engineering, and all that stuff with the 5G way back in the 80s even. And he was pointing out that before he died, how they had selected the 5G 50 gigahertz frequencies that they're just now rolled out, and that was highly reactive with biological systems and water molecules and so on that's now come out. But this was known when they selected the frequency. My dad already knew about it, and he was asked to study it, and he was amazed. He just couldn't go there in his mind psychologically that they wanted to do this. He just said, I just couldn't understand why they wanted to do that, to go with 50 to 60 gigahertz. And it's just...
so technologically, he had kind of understood where they were going.
Yeah, but he just couldn't go there with the, ingested into his psyche that I'm doing something bad. And this is the entire Maryland area, by the way. It's just, and globally, it's just people running amok with being unconscious with their conscience. So,
no, thank you
call
for
it godlessness or whatever. It's just crazy. Yeah.
But so I mean, we are probably going towards a gradual dismantling of this union. You think or not? I mean, you think that in the end we can't coexist anymore? Yeah. I mean, can we coexist peacefully like we used to?
I think what they want, they meaning the owners of the companies of the states of America, which goes back to when the companies were colonies. They teach us a false history, but there's still no one owns their land. They're renting it, and they're holding it as joint tenants or tenants in common. So everyone in America does not own their land. They're renting it. So whoever are municipalized, more ancient allodial title holders are, which are the stakeholders that are never mentioned of who they are, want their land back, and they want the serfs off of the land. Where we've done our useful deed in providing the high tech that allows.
At the same time, you have
force multiplication.
Yeah, you have people like Bill Gates buying big chunks of land, or we have even China buying big chunks of land. So
yeah, they're going to use mechanized farming now, and they've got mechanized. You know, they can make houses now with robotic, you know, heavy equipment. Now they pour concrete, they do everything. So the end of skilled workers is now the top target, is to get rid of skilled workers. And you see this in the tech industry. There's a cannibalism going on in terms of automation. They're trying to automate everything and get the code ironed out, and then lay people off, and the entire tech sector is just going along, right, like lemmings over a cliff. So
thank you so much
I
for.
hope your audience grows. I mean,
no, we hope that too. And we actually wanted to tell all the people who have tuned in today, we don't usually go live on Wednesday. We go live on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or at least Thursday and Saturday. Tuesday, sometimes we take it off. But tomorrow is Christ's birthday, and so we decided to go on live on a Wednesday, because we wanted to give something to our audience that might want to follow us on Thursday. Well, they will be able to follow at least the recording of the show if they didn't follow us live today. But thank you so much for what you said, and I hope more people follow this show, understand the topics that we are discussing, the importance of what we've been discussing, because the future of America is definitely at stake at the moment.
Thanks, Phil.
And I'm sure that people like you who have a clear idea of what is happening can make the difference, because I mean, he has laid out a series of topics today of great importance. Very smart, our viewers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are a little bit running in extra time here. What happened to Rambo? Well, now he's not sleeping anymore because he's gonna have to be brought out. Rambo! Rambo!
Here he is. He's a little troublemaker today, but he's really lovely. He's not a troublemaker.
No.
He can make trouble all he wants.
All he wants.
Except there. Don't do that.
Yes. Oh, Rambo! Bello di papà. Okay, so we will see you on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 12 p.m. CST, 1 p.m. EST on Saturday. Yes, we are not going to broadcast on Thursday. So this is why we are broadcasting on Wednesday. And
thank you for the birthday wishes, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for the birthday wishes and for everything you do for us. And we will continue in our mission. Thank you so much for supporting us in every way possible and imaginable. You know who you are.
Jeez, let's close the show. My shirt's coming out.
Shirts is coming out. Woo!
Bye, everyone.
It's a red. It's a red light district. Okay, take care, guys. All the best, and God bless you all.
See you Saturday.